I think we're set up. We're live?
We're live.
Wow, we're live. Hi everybody.
Hello. Hello.
We're changing things up a little bit this week. I'm Taylor Williams. I'm one of the executive producers here at Flight School.
I'm Sullivan Parker. I'm a senior producer here at Flight School.
Which means he's a heck of a lot more intelligent than I am. Much better looking too. Yeah, so we're going to be on the live stream today, changing things up.
Yeah.
What are we going to talk about?
I think we have a new format that we're introducing today. It's called Between Two Nerds. No, we're going to be talking about some of the recent news from GDC in the tech world.
That's right.
Some stuff that we're interested in and thoughts that spurs.
That's right. And first off, I think we got some news that we've shared everywhere, but say it again because we're excited.
So our first two projects as an entity were nominated for Emmys.
That's right. 2 Emmys.
2 Emmys.
Same category.
Same category. Yeah. Son of Jaguar, a Google Spotlight story, and
Manifest 99, our first self-published title is Flight School. So we're super excited for both the Manifest 99 team. Mr. Parker here was heavily involved in both projects.
Yep, proud member of both teams.
And also excited for the Real Effects team with Jorge Gutierrez directing and the amazing crew at Google Spotlight Stories for Son of Jaguar. So it's pretty awesome. There are 5 nominations in this category of outstanding interactive media, and 2 of them were from our team. That's 40% if my math is right.
Can
pretty
neither
awesome.
Confirm or deny that math is correct.
Yeah.
The camera's on. I can't do math.
Sure, it's fine. Then we're gearing up for the Island Time release. I don't think we've set a date officially yet, but it's coming up soon. Bo and Adam are out at GDC this week, and they're tearing it up, working like madmen, trying to get it in front of as many people as possible and showing it off.
Yeah. And to good reviews from folks who are playing it, sounds like. People are excited. So
yeah, it's been fun. Cool. So is that all of the stuff that we have to cover out of the way?
I think so.
All right.
I'm casually looking at your screen.
That's right.
If it has information there for me. I believe it does. I believe we've covered everything. So
we're getting there.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna dive into some. Oh, you want me to talk more quietly?
Yeah, your voice is very boo.
I'm sorry, Justin. Yeah, that's all right.
It's okay.
We'll quiet down a little bit. I'll try to get more on Sullivan's speed so we balance out a little better. We're going to talk about some technology, you know, in a studio full of engineers and artists and brilliant people. I won't speak for Sully, but I'm specifically myself one of the least intelligent nerds here, but potentially one of the most enthusiastic about this technology and where everything's going. So want to explore that landscape, see where things are going, make some predictions, drink some wine.
Yeah.
We're going to start off with an intro video to the studio.
Yeah.
So we released this week. Been working on it for a little while. Totally unscripted. We just got everybody in the studio in front of a camera, asked some questions, and turned it all over to our amazing editor, Chris Collins, and this is what he came out with. I hope you enjoy.
Where do you think Flight School's going? What's in the future? What do you want us to do?
All right. I don't know if you like this answer. For all of us within the company, I think it's fair to say we all love sci-fi. And what sci-fi does is it shows us the grand potential of what we can do and become and the awesome tools we can have at our disposal.
I think that the mixture of pushing technology through creative ideas is a big part of why Flight School exists.
The job that we have created for ourselves here at Flight School is basically to be futurists. Half of the team are scientists, and the other half are storytellers.
I wanted to work at Flight School to grow as an artist and a technician, to push how we use 360 to tell stories.
We look at gameplay abstractly. We're always thinking of like new ways that the mediums themselves can be innovated.
There are associations with content that people have that I feel like we can break down the definitions of.
We're all about what's next. We're all about what's not there yet. We start projects where the hardware that we're delivering on isn't created yet.
We are at our best when we take on creative challenges with technologies that haven't been tried before.
From 360 video to virtual reality, augmented reality, air cannons for crying out loud.
No matter what new tech we are exploring, creative always comes first.
Flight school is adventurous,
Driven,
Fast,
ambitious,
groundbreaking,
creativity,
Audacious,
Experimental,
futuristic,
fearless,
fun,
imagination,
passion,
innovative,
pioneers.
impossible.
But what it really comes down to is 3 words: is tell great stories.
The future of flight school is really, it's boundless.
it's the great beyond.
Flight school is just going to be able to go wherever technology has opportunities. Flight school is going to continue to tackle any new weird-ass medium that comes up.
the future for flight school is like we can do anything.
All right, we're back.
So we were just talking a little bit off air. The thing I like about that video is it captures some of what is exciting for me to come to work every day.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of everything in there.
Well, we do a little bit of everything.
That's true. That's a typical day, is a little
That's
bit
right.
of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Jen was asking what kind of wine we're drinking, Sully. So I'm going to use that as an opportunity to get a little bit of more. You want some more?
Just a touch.
All right. So this is a Oregon Pinot Noir, Willamette Valley. There you go. You can see beautiful, beautiful labels. Big Table Farm. So I really like this. Several of the people watching this stream, there's not that many. That's fine. I know that I really, really like wine, and Gwendolyn and I, my wife and I, got the chance to visit this winery just a few months ago for my birthday, and I had an awesome time. They make amazing, amazing wine, and I'm happy to have an excuse to drink it at work.
It's very good, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Well, happy Friday. I'll try not to slurp too much while we're doing this. So, what are we going to talk about?
Technology?
Technology.
Yes.
Hardware, probably more than anything, I would
say
imagine. So we're going to start, Sully and I have been talking through this a little bit this week, trying to figure out what we're going to talk about. And I wanted to throw up this slide right here for just a second. Let me make sure I got the right one. Okay. So this is Unity CEO John Riccatello in his keynote at the Vision Summit in 2016, predicting this time that we're currently in that he called the gap of disappointment, where that yellow line at the top is the hype curve for VR, AR technology, and the white line is the actual adoption curve. And where we are now, where the adoption doesn't quite line up with what the supposed hype is, he termed the gap of disappointment. And that's where we currently are. But thankfully, I feel like we might be starting to come out of it. What do you think?
I think that's some of what we want to talk about. What I love about that slide is that you can't see, I believe it stops at 2014 maybe, and if you go in the direction off to the left, the hype would be flat. So the hype has been static since about 1994, and I believe the reality has been much lower. So we've been gaining, but I think the pace is increasing as it's shown in that curve, and that's some of the exciting stuff that we want to talk about here.
Right, that's right. So I mean, sitting around at the end of last year, reading a lot of technology roundups for what tech in 2017 looked like, there were a lot of articles asking the question, is VR's bubble bursting already? Has it failed to get off the ground? And I looked back at that keynote address and could really see it coming true in a very public way. Those of us who are making the content, who are using all of the hardware, we still very much feel like we're in early days and things are just getting started. And there's already all these questions asked: Are we failing to get off the ground? What's cool is we are starting to see newer generations of the technology. I mean, the thing that it's especially easy for us to forget is we're still on the first generation of consumer-facing technology in this medium.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see new formats. We're starting to see all-in-ones are going to be hitting the market soon. We're starting to see new types of technology. We'll get into light fields a little bit here later on. But I think that we've got to remember how early in the adoption cycle we really are.
Yeah, and it's we see where things are going, and so it's important to sort of recalibrate every so often and look at where things are right now. But so that frames up some of what we're going to touch on.
Yeah,
in the specific.
So I mean, looking at South by and looking at GDC, a lot of announcements, a lot of things happening, new technology coming, some first glimpses at some stuff. So. You want to get into all-in-ones?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Let's talk about all-in-ones.
Let's talk about all-in-ones. The things that have been promised for some time, and we're finally starting to get some dates and some more details.
Right. So Google announced a while ago that they were in their next generation of Daydream. They were going to have 6 degrees of freedom in all-in-one headsets, and we're finally about to get the first incarnation of that with the Lenovo Mirage. And so they've officially announced the launch date, right?
So, yeah.
So that's going to be May 5th.
I think so.
And then
sounds right.
We have the launch price, $499.
I believe it's $499. At least that's what I saw reported.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is going to be an interesting new paradigm. So it's all mobile. It's all in one. It's not needing to have a phone slotted into it. Self-contained, but it still gives you 6 degrees of freedom, so you can walk around and explore the content. You're not fixed nodally like you are in 3.0 headsets.
Totally, and not being pulled in a direction by wires hanging behind you in some way.
Which is really important. I mean, it really.
It sounds basic, but it makes a huge difference. We've had the opportunity to play with a bunch of different all-in-ones, and it sounds very simple, but it makes such a huge difference to the experience.
That's right.
You never stop feeling the wires in the back of your head and the weight of the cable, and the minute that's gone, it's I don't know.
It allows you to be fully present in the space. Yeah. You know, of course, assuming the content is compelling enough to keep you there. You should probably not let the computer hit the mic.
That's okay. This is our first live stream, so we'll chalk that up. Yeah, we'll chalk that up.
Working out some kinks.
Rookie mistakes.
That's all right.
Yeah, but so the other thing that is in place here, there's just a bewildering amount of platforms and technology and specifications that overlap between different vendors, and like Google has hardware and they also have a software specification.
Right.
I think the Mirage uses inside-out tracking, so it's using cameras.
You think that?
That's a nice way to lead into my next comment. Yes, it does use cameras to do inside-out tracking. So instead of having sensors that it's pinging, it's actually taking pictures of what it sees and then using that to determine how far you move. And I know that it's the mixed reality platform, the Windows mixed reality platform.
Similar setup,
which is tethered and is not all in one, and we're probably not talking about here, but they also use the same thing, and
we can get into some of that if we want, later. But the cool thing about the Mirage is you've got that freedom. You've got a pretty powerful all-in-one for what it is.
It doesn't need to take calls, purpose-built for the job. So in theory,
and we've been playing around with things in that platform for a while. Mm-hmm. At the beginning of last year, we did a couple of projects with Qualcomm using their Snapdragon 835 VR DK VR developer kit.
Yep.
And the Mirage and then the Vive Focus, we'll talk about here in a second, both kind of coming out of that accelerator where they're building on top of that platform that Qualcomm spec'd out, which is really pretty incredible platform.
Absolutely.
And the visual fidelity that you're able to achieve in mobile is is impressive.
It's another curve that would probably look similar to the one we just looked at.
Yeah.
For VR in general.
Right. So staying in that all-in-one mobile units, we got a little more information about the Vive Focus this week. So when Google announced the second generation of their Daydream platform, was that last summer? I think they teased it at I/O last year, right?
That's when I first heard of it.
Vive was going to be the leading device.
The first one to market, yeah.
That's right. Since then, HTC has kind of changed their strategy a little bit.
Yep.
They launched the Vive Focus, their all-in-one, in China in January this year.
Yeah.
And we were all wondering when they were going to bring it to the States. They finally announced this week at GDC that that's happening in 2018. They didn't give specifics.
At some point
I didn't see.
Yeah, I didn't see a date either.
All right.
But, there's however many months left, so we have some parameters around when it's coming.
But it's no longer Daydream.
Right, which was a big surprise. I think when you and I had talked last, we both thought that's what it was, and we were surprised with this announcement to see that had changed. So, I mean, it a lot of interesting thoughts behind that around their go-to-market strategy, Viveport, and what that means for them as a port.
So they're creating a development platform called Wave. Yes. And I shouldn't say are creating. I mean, they have, and they're continuing to iterate on it. And then their content platform is Viveport, which is interesting. I think Viveport has been an interesting platform because it's layered on top of Steam right now, and it's currently serving up similar content. They've got some unique offerings and some unique strategies. But by and large, if you're using a Vive right now, it makes a lot more sense to get your content from Steam. And seeing Vive mature this strategy and take a different tack with their mobile all-in-one to try to create a platform that they own, it's impressive.
It's impressive. It's exciting. I think
it's a bold move.
It's there are probably many similar circumstances, but I remember when CD-ROM was the hot technology of the moment, which dates me a little bit. And there were several competing specs and manufacturers and compression techniques, and so this disk wouldn't work in that Philips device, and etc. And so it's really great. It is, as from a nerd who's interested in the field, it's really exciting. From a person whose job it is to make content that runs on all these different devices,
it's a little bewildering.
It's a little bewildering. But the reality is that it's great because it means that it's a challenge to the other content platforms and specs, and the best stuff will shake out, and eventually we'll figure out a standard or standards,
right?
And then things will be simplified. And so for now, it's really exciting to see they all do more or less the same thing, often in slightly different ways, but they're starting to see little advantages in this platform over that one, and
right.
So it'd be interesting to see the focus in action.
And the other, all-in-one that's coming up and hasn't confirmed a launch date yet, but we're all expecting to see it in May, potentially at F8 if reports will follow. If reports bear out, is the Oculus Go.
Yeah.
And so this is a little bit of a different strategy in the mobile all-in-one headsets. So they're sticking with a 3DOF headset, so 3 degrees of freedom. You can look up, look down, look left, look right, but you can't move laterally throughout a space.
Yeah.
But their launch price they've announced is $199, which is pretty remarkable. So you're going to have everything that you can do on a Gear VR in a self-contained unit without the overhead of a cell phone strapped to it.
Right.
So battery life should improve and performance should improve. We doing okay, Justin?
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
Just had to come back on.
I appreciate that. We need all the help we can get.
I mean, this bet is interesting because they're saying, and this is one of the vectors that these experiences and platforms differ along, but 3 degrees of freedom versus 6. They're betting that 3 degrees is compelling enough, and that they certainly have a lot of content that already exists for that platform.
And I don't know that we're all saying that it's compelling enough for a high-end user. What they're trying to do is build a market, right?
Yeah.
So their goal, I assume, and I hope is to get a taste of VR in the hands of as many people as possible.
Yeah.
And if they can deliver, and I think they can and will, and it's largely on people like us who are making the content, if they can deliver on the promise of VR at a small degree with a headset that costs $199, then we can get in front of a lot of people.
This reminds me a little bit, I'm speculating here, but when the Xbox was launched, it was launched because Microsoft could take a $200 loss on every unit because of their deep pockets. And that was part of what created a huge install base for Xbox. And I wonder if there is a hit they're taking and what it is, but it's for the greater good of sort of the market and having people have access to stuff.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be great as well over gear, I would imagine, just by nature of taking the phone out of the device and making it just do what it's...
And I don't know how much we can get into how well we do or don't know these devices, but there have been a lot of...
all speculation.
A lot of reports about the ergonomics of. You've seen lots of pictures of all of these different devices. One of the great things about these handsets is we have a generation behind us of industrial design now at a consumer level.
Yep.
And so we're seeing manufacturers get better at designing a headset that's comfortable to wear, that doesn't mess up our hair. It's easy for Sully
for those
and
of
I.
us, right? For those of us for whom that's a problem. I think whether they're listening to that or not, the data's out there. So you've got a bunch of different types of approaches to cantilevering and straps here and there, and so another interesting thing to see the next step, the next generation as they apply those lessons.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then Oculus, of course, has their Santa Cruz that they're working on.
Yeah.
There are several other things that every manufacturer has going on behind the scenes. So we're going to see some interesting things come out this year, I think.
Sure. And just for those of you keeping score at home, the Santa Cruz is similar to the Vive Focus and the Lenovo Mirage, in that those are all 6'd off.
Correct.
But it will be wirelessly tethered to a PC. We don't know.
I mean, there are a few people that have written articles to that effect. The way Oculus positioned it at Connect last year was that it's an all-in-one.
Okay.
So
in the same category then, for sure, and really then everything will be sort of all-in-one, or in a self-contained unit, and that again, I cannot overstate how exciting it is after having a headset with cables for a long period of time to wear one that doesn't have them.
Well, and at some point we're going to get into a second generation of tethered headsets as well, and we'll see another generation of the Oculus Rift. We'll see another generation of Vive, and I'm not calling the Vive Pro a generational. That's a 1.5.
Right. Sure.
But I would imagine that in the second generation of those tethered headsets, all of those tethers are wireless, and that you're still relying on the computational power of a significant computer, but you're handing that off wirelessly to the headset. And Vive has announced that they're working on that with Intel, and you've got TPCast, several different options of delivering that. It's an interesting approach.
It's an interesting space.
It's better.
To see, yeah.
It's getting better every day.
Every day. That curve is climbing. If you look, as time goes this way.
That's right.
That way. It's that way.
That's right, David. It's the Pinot edition of the podcast. This isn't a podcast. This is a live stream.
It's a live stream.
We know.
If this was a podcast, we would be much smoother. We would have edited out a bunch of stuff already.
And then, just continuing on the all-in-one mobile track for a little bit, we saw a little bit of information come out this week about Qualcomm's next developer platform, which is the 845 VRDK. So that's the next generation of their Snapdragon chipset. The photos that they released actually have Tobii eye tracking built in, which is interesting.
A whole other layer.
Why does that matter, Sully?
Well, there's probably many reasons. Why it matters to me is that there are a lot of things like that you can do with websites that people do with eye tracking to see where people are looking, to sort of process, how well your game design stuff is working. But what's most important to me, based primarily on a product that I worked on that's about looking into the eyes of other characters.
Which product is that?
A Manifest 99.
You contractually have to say Emmy-nominated right. Manifest 99 now.
Let's fix that in post.
All right.
So what happens in a headset now is that I have to see, well, you can't see this, but over there, to see something, I have to turn my head all the way until my eyes are lined up with this item.
That's right.
What this eye tracking allows me to do is what I would normally do, which is turn some and then move my eyes the rest of the distance. And again, sounds like a small thing, a basic thing, but over time, through multiple turns to looking at things, it adds up quite a bit.
And it makes the experience more natural.
Absolutely.
And that's the you know the Uber path that all of this is taking is
right.
all of this generational technology is about making it more natural.
I'm just looking at the comment stream.
Ron? Yeah, so Ron's asking, is it the wine or did you get
It's
sun?
a little bit of both, Ron.
It's a little warm
bit of
in here.
both, sir. It is a little warm.
Yeah, the door's shut, not a lot of air moving.
I'm just very excited about this topic.
And that's let's see.
Oh yes.
Don't forget about foveated rendering.
That's right.
From that's Brandon.
That's
right?
Brandon. Yes.
Yeah.
So why don't you take that?
Foveated rendering.
Yes.
So
a created word.
Right.
Foveated.
Right. So foveated, field of view. So only not only rendering where you're looking, but your eye actually focuses intensely in the center of something, and then the focus falls off outside of the center of your vision. As things get into your periphery, they're not in focus anymore. And if we're able to take content and render it that way, let everything fall off that's not in the center of your vision, then that gives us a lot more overhead with the graphical processing that we're doing. With the same amount of information, the same amount of power, you can have higher image fidelity.
And yeah, no perceived loss because you're not really seeing the stuff around the edges anyway, and then the stuff in the middle looks that much better, however much spare cycles you can devote to that.
And so with the headsets we have today, that doesn't matter a ton because your field of view is fairly narrow. We're talking 100 degrees, 110 degrees. But if you get into, assuming the next generation of headsets have a field of view like the Pi Max or like the Star VR headset, where you're opening it up to 200, 220 degrees, then your eyes are free to move around the scene a lot more.
Yep.
And that's where eye tracking and foveated rendering will really start to make a big difference.
Yep.
When you can keep your head straight, look off, and not only not be at the edge of the frame, but have the rendering keep track and actually respond properly. It's going to be really important.
It'll be magic.
Yeah, and I think one of the other big things with eye tracking is going to be how it relates to digital co-presence, how it relates to me being in a headset, you being in a headset, and me feeling like your avatar is actually you.
So we'll do this virtually for subsequent versions, and you'll see us looking at each other.
That's right,
and we'll see each other, and there's the promise.
Yeah, but it makes a big difference, right? I mean, it's cheesy. It's cheesy. It's colloquial, but eyes being the window to the soul.
Yeah.
That has a lot to do with the animation and the motion of the eyes, not just the depth of staring into your soul.
That's correct. As anybody who's played Second Life or any other online place that you communicate with other folks, it's got a long way to go. So this is one of those steps that will definitely help beyond in VR and potentially beyond.
That's right. So we're eye tracking is a thing that we're looking at, that we're
pun intended.
Wow, thanks. Playing with
every pun you have to drink.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Shall we move on?
I guess so.
We are so excited about all these topics that we can talk about them for
too long.
No, in depth. I have many more things to say, but we have a couple other categories of things to touch on probably.
Yeah, and actually the eye tracking comment kind of leads into what we had next on. We have a really fancy outline right here,
generated by this man. Very helpful.
Most of it's from Sarah.
Yeah,
I just reformatted it. Light fields.
Yes.
There are actually a few things that came out in light field news this week.
That's true.
But first of all, Sully.
Why don't you define?
Well, no, I told you I gave you fair warning. Can you define light fields?
Partially.
Okay.
Let's try this. So basically, what we perceive around us are rays of light, right? It has depth. When you take a picture, a digital picture, you're basically compressing or slicing that information into just one layer among many other layers. Mm-hmm. And our eyes are built, when we focus on things in the foreground and the near foreground and the distance, to selectively adjust relative to the distance. I'm looking at him because now he's talking. So essentially, a light field is capturing what we're seeing in the world.
A light field is the entire volume of light in a space, as
Yes.
opposed to a slice of it, which is what we get with the screens that we have today, what we get with the sensors that we have in our phones, our DSLRs. A light field, if you're looking at a technology like Litro or something similar, you're capturing not only the slice of light, but also the angle and intensity, so that you're able to create holographic light. Real-time ray tracing, Brandon. We could talk about that later.
Maybe in a subsequent.
Yeah. I get really distracted by the comments.
That's okay. That's.
But I like the comments are more interesting.
More
what we're saying anyway.
Well, potentially.
You know what? I'll tell you what, Brandon. Do you want to just? We're in the live stream room. If you want to come talk about real-time ray tracing, you're welcome to join us.
Yeah, you're welcome to pop in, and there'll be a chair here.
We'll get a chair. So light fields.
So light fields and news.
We did a really bad job of explaining it, but why does it matter?
Well, there's many reasons why it matters. I think one of them is that there were a few things announced related to light fields at GDC.
That's right.
Magic Leap, just prior to GDC, I think, released their SDK and allowed people to jump in and get it. And it's got an emulator now. So I don't know. I guess the select partners have access to the hardware, but everyone else can develop as well and emulate that behavior. But their technology is related to light fields. That's Brandon is saying.
He said he's too busy.
He turned us down. That's okay. We'll find you for a subsequent one.
It's all right.
But that's one of their things is what they claim sets their platform apart is the quality of the visuals.
Right.
And so it's exciting to see them take another step toward having that product out there so people can see.
That's right. So Magic Leap, big step forward this week, actually announcing and releasing an SDK, several developer tools. A lot of people are wondering, are these guys for real? Are they actually going to come out with a product?
And a lot of people have already made up their minds that they're not. But that's why it's exciting to see them take steps towards doing it.
Yeah, I mean the sheer weight of the money that they've raised to do what they're doing, the gravity, it's
the bets that have been
inescapable,
placed, and the people who've placed those bets tell me that they have something going on. So so we'll follow.
Is that all that tells you that, Sully?
Yes. For this category, correct. Yes.
Yeah. So the cool thing about Magic Leap, what they're supposedly doing is creating a light field display, right?
Yeah.
So rather than seeing the world through a lens, and they are adamant about you not calling what they're developing a lens.
Yeah.
What's the turn of phrase they're using? Photonic wafer.
That sounds
something
right.
Something like to that effect.
Something, many more syllables.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, probably. But the idea is presenting your eye with information in the same way that it's used to perceiving the world around you.
Right.
Lowers the barrier to believing what you're seeing is actually in the world. It removes the headache from experiencing it, theoretically. There are so many benefits to this sort of form factor, this sort of display technology, if we can get the form factor into a manageable format.
For sure.
So what they're doing now is they've actually separated the computational hub of the system from the display hub, right? So you have...
Yeah, it's kind of
the light pack.
The pack.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the term. The marketing term.
So,
but it's like a puck, right? From their spec, and then the glasses have a small wire running down to it?
There is a physical wire.
That's okay.
For now.
Temporary.
Sure.
It's temporary.
So, Magic Leap, that's probably the gorilla in the room for light fields. But also this week, well, actually last week, you have Google releasing their Welcome to Light Fields application on Steam,
which a bunch of us looked at internally, and it's pretty amazing. It's self-contained, and they're pictures.
It's a demo, right? It's a
clearly
test.
A demo, but it shows a lot of promise. Highly recommend anybody checking it out if they've got its own Vive.
It's totally cross-platform. I don't know if they went to PlayStation with it. I don't think so, but it's Rift and
it's great.
Vive.
It's really great. It's essentially a 360 image, but you have 6 degrees of freedom within a narrow space. And I think you had said they took apart a camera that existed and then mounted the GoPros on kind of a wand, like a half moon, and then mounted it so that it describes a circle and takes a picture of what's around. And what you get there, more so than a chrome, more so than a chrome ball or a single camera that's stationary, is you get multiple shots from all these angles. And there was one picture that I was impressed with, was taken inside of an aluminum trailer, I think. And you don't have much space because of the size of the camera, but you have enough. I was watching the reflections move in a picture, basically, and it's hard to describe. If you experience
I think reflections moving properly is something that us geeks and nerds get excited about. With it just working, what it will do for everybody else is it's just going to be the world as they're used to seeing it.
Right. That's
And so what Google has in this application is just a couple of dozen of they're still photographs, for lack of a better word, that they've captured with this camera system and are displaying in light field. But the quality of it is like nothing that I've seen yet. I was surprised to see how far the quality of the content can push the headsets that exist today.
Absolutely, yeah. It's and some have people in them, and they're exceedingly creepy that you can look around and see people all looking at you.
It's intensely voyeuristic.
But that's the form. So it's very exciting to see what they and clearly that Google did that integrated with their pipeline that they've already got established, and so clearly that's the first taste of stuff that's coming from them. And then did we already talk about their purchase that they made?
Well, reportedly are making.
Oh,
yeah, it's not.
It's not official.
I haven't seen it officially anywhere, but reports and speculation are out this week that Google is buying Lytro.
And what is Lytro?
Yeah, Lytro is a company that has been around for a little while at this point, doing light field capture. And so they started with a consumer light field camera several years ago.
Yeah.
Little lipstick box of a camera that allowed you to take a photo and then refocus later.
After. Yeah.
Right. And not refocus like what you're seeing with Apple and their portrait mode.
Yeah, whatever
but
it's called.
they're actually capturing a light field that allows you to focus on different elements within a scene and do correct, proper optical refocusing.
Yeah.
Optical is probably not the right word, but
well, there's optical stuff in there.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're a glass down, maybe.
Should we?
No, I'm clearly good. Right. I think, it opens up a whole bunch of things. And if you were to contrast this, Magic Leap's putting the light field, that's how they're displaying stuff, whereas Lytro in this Google example is capturing a light field and then displaying it to you in different ways, I guess.
Totally.
But it does raise, the old issue of like our photographer is going to become a thing of the past when I can just take a picture with my device and then later I'll do what I need to do, focus, blend and do all that stuff.
Probably is that a real question, or are you just trying to
I was just trying to get your go. I was trying to get you to react. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, someone said the same thing.
That's right.
And of course, we talked about this a little bit. And you're a big photographer. That's something that you really enjoy.
I don't know if I'm a big photographer,
well,
but
maybe we'll phrase that. We'll fix that in post.
I like taking pictures.
An avid photographer.
Sure.
That?
I like taking pictures.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think that it's an important difference. I don't think, of course, light field photography is not gonna totally replace traditional photography, right?
Right.
I mean, movies and television didn't replace radio.
It's true.
It's all additive. It's a new medium. It's a new space. It's an interesting space. As a nerd, I'm really excited about
Absolutely.
it. I've been a big fan of Lytro and what they've done. So they've evolved from that lipstick camera, then they went to a professional camera system, and then they went to a totally high-end professional filmmaking and VR capture system,
which is I've seen pictures of it,
right.
but it's
gigantic.
a series of sensors arrayed around something,
totally.
Right?
Yeah, and the quality of what they're able to produce is unrivaled. Currently, I'm actually really excited about Google reportedly buying them.
Yeah,
because I'm excited about taking that technology and bringing it into a system where you can conceivably go end-to-end light field acquisition, light field workflow tools with light field compositing and CGI tool set through to a Magic Leap style light field display.
I mean, and really, based on what I know about Lytro, that's some of their struggle, in that they were trying to figure out ways to commoditize their technology and go to market. They tried a couple different techniques, and what Google has available to them, just the resources and the technology and everything else, they can realize that in whatever is the best way, whereas Lytro was probably trying to figure out how to make money to continue to evolve the thing. And so that is, if that were to happen, that is probably the best case scenario.
Right, and Google, of course, has a massive investment early on in Magic Leap as well.
Oh, that's right.
Starting to see some pieces tie together.
Sure.
Line up some dominoes.
That's fun.
So, Sully, what's next?
What is next? Well, we were going to talk about a possible new technology interaction paradigm.
Well, what's next for us first?
Oh. Beyond talking about a new technology interaction paradigm?
It's all right. We can just go straight.
What's next for us?
Well, we've got Island Time coming out soon.
Oh, yes.
You gotta say that every 10 minutes, or Sarah's gonna get mad.
Yes. Future Emmy Award-winning Island Time.
Yeah, right.
So that
it's
is
way
coming
too much
out
fun
soon.
for them.
It is releasing very soon, and we're very excited for folks to play it.
Yeah. Release day coming soon, and then Manifest. We talked about some different headsets.
Yeah,
lots of new stuff coming out. Manifest will hopefully be available on all of them.
Yes.
But in the near term, we know it's coming to the Daydream platform in the next few weeks.
Yeah. So we're excited about that. And again, watch the space for more on all those things.
All right. Now that I've totally derailed you,
it's
want to go back to to new technology interaction paradigm?
I just wanted you to say that. There's an acronym there, but it doesn't quite pronounce very well.
No, it doesn't.
So, yeah, I mean, this is sort of a potpourri, right, of things. But in the context of AR, VR, MR, R, there's a spectrum of things from reality to virtual reality. In the middle, you've got augmented, and then you've got mixed reality, and those are the same to some companies, and they're different to others. But it is interesting to see a lot of these technologies reach maturity in parallel with a bunch of other technologies. And so watching all of these things come together into products and alternate sort of computing paradigms. I mean, a lot of these fall under the category, and we'll talk about them, of what's been broadly called wearable computing, from many years ago.
Right.
But there's a lot more reality and practicality to that now than what was spoken about in the abstract.
Well, and I think the important thing to remember as we start to look at where things are headed is what Zuckerberg said when he bought Oculus, when Facebook bought Oculus. He didn't personally, but when Facebook bought Oculus, that they viewed virtual reality and by extension augmented reality as the next major computing platform after mobile.
Right.
And from where I sit, nuance to how that's going to play out has evolved a little bit, but substantively, I don't think it's changed. I still see virtual reality, augmented, mixed, however you want to stack your realities, as the new way that we're going to interact with technology. We're going to have an always on, always available, always in front of us connection to the font of all human knowledge.
Yes, as if we don't already.
Right. Well, that's where it's going to be, right?
Absolutely.
So, and I think that we're already starting to see the first vestiges of that, right? So, you and I both this year are apparently running a timer.
Yeah.
On the smartwatch bandwagon.
Yes, strength of Kool-Aid, depending however you want to
look at it. But it's what I found, and I was impressed by how much this was the case. Mm-hmm. It's not a distracting device. It's all about being a natural way to interact with the technology you already have.
Sure.
This doesn't replace a phone.
Not at all.
And I don't think it's ever going to, and that's not the idea of it. The idea is to give you a new paradigm for interacting with the technology that you already have.
Do the things here that make sense here.
Right.
That's basically what it is.
And that's growing.
Mm-hmm.
We're already seeing that growing with things like, Apple's AirPods. The people who have them absolutely love them. And just, stepping away from Apple branded technology, just wireless earbuds in general. I mean, Google has their Babelfish of earbuds out that are doing real time translation.
Yeah.
Now I don't think it's delivering on the promise of what's there just yet, based on reports, but it's
taking a step.
The fact that the technology even can almost work is remarkable.
Science fiction future.
And you layer that on top of all of the different ways that we interact, right? So you've got a phone that stays in your pocket. You've got control and information that comes to your wrist. Mm-hmm. You've got information that's given to your earphones, whether they're tethered or not.
Yep.
That already interacts with the computer that's in front of you. It's a short leap for you to get rid of the physical computer in front of you and just have glasses that are giving you that information.
Yeah.
But the important thing is starting to understand how this paradigm is going to work of having the tether to the internet in your pocket and the computational power in your pocket and all of these different ways of interacting with that technology.
and consuming information from that hub.
Right.
As you said, audio and visual, and there'll be lots of different ways. I mean, we were talking about this before, that like the first modality for accessing computing power were sort of thin clients connected to a master or computer and a supercomputer.
Sure.
And
stations and mainframes.
Yeah, and then as soon as technology sort of caught up, our devices all got smarter, much faster. But as time has evolved, we've actually gone back in a lot of ways to thin client stuff. And what we're talking about here is really that just extrapolated out to the virtual or to the actual world. So it's going to be interesting to see all the vectors that plays across. I mean, we just talked about sound. We talked about, the sort of watch type of paradigm, but there's even the Google and Levi's.
Right, yeah, the jacket.
Mm-hmm. The fabric, which is all about
where
interface.
They're weaving conductive threads into the sleeve of a jacket so that you can control your interaction through the sleeves of your jacket. I don't have it.
Well, it's a virtual jacket.
So, and that's not a control that makes sense in every situation. That's not even a control that makes sense in most situations. But in the times where you don't want to or can't, or it's not safe to pull out your phone, having that control and having that way to interact with your technology and keep it always on, keep it always present, and let the technology come to you in a way that fits your life or your job or whatever makes sense.
Absolutely, and there are things like economies of scale and like the ability to make a jacket that is at a cost that you would pay for it, knowing that you wouldn't necessarily use it all the time, but it's useful enough and the value proposition makes sense to you. Like that is the interesting place we are at the nexus of all these different things.
That's right, and I think the interesting thing about the Magic Leap's already there with the way they're setting it up. They're taking the computational hub and what they're calling the light pack, and they're separating that from the processing and display device that's on your head, the sensing and display device, so that it doesn't have to all be on your head like the HoloLens,
which is ergonomic.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Heavier, painful.
It's
HoloLens isn't painful. It's just, you know what I mean.
It's painful is maybe it's too strong of a word, but it's not a pleasant sensation after a period of time.
Right.
We recently got a new car. It was new to us. It's 2014 Prius, and I'm still amazed every day when I get into that car with my phone, and it connects via Bluetooth and picks up on my podcast where I left off in my house. I don't have to put keys in. Like I have my keys in. I push a button. This also is the future. My wife is reminding me that I'm going to pick my son up and take him to soccer practice.
That's right.
So I felt the haptic, non-invasive. There was no sound, so it was very.
It was a little invasive.
Well, I looked at it. That was invasive.
Yeah.
That's a personal problem. But anyway, it's so. I mean, all of these things, and Bluetooth has been around for a while, but as they continually add and features to it, and they make it work better at lower power, like all of these things are going to combine to essentially create this interface that we're talking about.
That's right. And I mean, not even to mention things like smart home assistants and smart speakers, and it's just we're building this world where we have all of this technology always on, always available in more natural ways.
Yeah.
And that's the really great thing about what we get to play with every day is we're trying to find, how do you tell a story in this medium? How do we take all of this really all of these really cool sandboxes and do something unique and figure out the most compelling way to engage with it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of fun. So you got to go pick up...
I've got a soccer practice, I guess.
Are you coaching?
No.
Okay.
No, but I have to do a lot of redirecting.
All right.
So it's very fun.
Well, the last thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to read this off my laptop so I don't mess it up, is if you want to stay up to date on what we're doing at Flight School, follow us on Twitter at Flight School HQ or Facebook at facebook.com/FlightSchoolStudio. We also have an email newsletter which you can sign up for on Island Time VR. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And I think Justin's going to play our what do you have, a trailer of Island Time coming up?
Yeah.
Anything else? Island Time?
Yes, so watch.
Island Time.
Watch and enjoy.
Dear Diary, it's me, Carl, the crab. I write in you every day. Anyways, guess what? A new best friend showed up on the island. This one was creative. First day, sun's up. They're making stuff. Spears, sticks with logs on the end. Man, if they had a stick or a log, they were making stuff with sticks and logs. Now we're cooking with gas. Those scientists will probably spend years trying to figure out the name of that thing. I called it a one-of-a-kind masterpiece, and then get this, they made a second one. Just when you thought all the good ideas had already been done, this one goes and blows my mind. Get ready for the fanciest patent I've ever filed. I'm pretty sure they did that just to impress me. Secret, it worked big time. Anyway, can't wait to see what they make tomorrow. Maybe I'll show them where the canned food and matches are, if they survive that long.